But the thing I'm most interested in now is, well, if we can get loads of conversations and we can analyze it and say, there's good communication, there's bad communication, here's where they're really involved, here's where they're not involved, and then we can model that. So we can just churn through loads and loads of conversations, train up some machine learning algorithms, and basically say, give me a model of what's positive communication and what's bad. So when you want two people to have a good communication, these factors should be there. And if we can model it, then we can instantiate it and use it in interesting ways. So going back to the speech tagging and the Animus software, you can add another layer to say, well, here's where there's prominent events, but also here's where there's excellent communication. Here's where there's really poor communication. And that can be reflected in the gestures and the movement attached to it. Likewise, we can create more immersive, realistic environments. So, for example, from a gaming point of view, you can have non-player characters standing in the background and not look and sound like they're just reading text to each other, but actually responding in a realistic way. So the research has shown that even in automated systems with synthesized voices, if the voice adapts in some way to the person speaking to it, people come away thinking it was a much more positive, engaging experience than if it was just using the flat kind of monotone synthesis. So even with the limitations of synthesis, if you add this aspect to it, this small level of adaptability, people just respond much more positively to it, and it's just an overall better experience. And also, most importantly, the thing that I'm interested in is because there's been great advances in the visual aspect of games, Oculus Rift being a perfect example, but not so much in speech in terms of speech interfaces. So speech interfaces for games have been tried before, have been very successful. It's all about word recognition, speech recognition. So a very limited kind of set of responses that you can have to that. And it all depends on, do you use the right terms or not, and how big is the library of terms that it recognizes. Modern consoles, they have some speech recognition elements in it, so you can tell the Xbox to turn on and off, and it's sitting there quietly watching this thing silently like some sort of weird little stalker in your house, and you can walk in and say Xbox on and it'll recognize you. But what I'm most interested in now is, well, how about having a system that actually responds to how you're speaking to it? And so you can create more engaging, interesting puzzles. So you don't have to run up with a virtual gun and shoot someone, or you don't have to go and collect a number of items or press a number of buttons. You just have to talk to the system in a convincing way. So one of the challenges could be you have to convince the computer system, the virtual character you're dealing with, to give you what you need. So it's creating this whole new interaction paradigm, which I think would be very, very interesting. I don't see any reason why we can't, because we're kind of at the stage now when we start pulling these technology strands together, we can. I think if we start looking at realism, like I said, instead of as something other than just this sounds real in terms of how the speech sounds, to actually this feels a bit more real. The speech is a little robotic, but you know what? It's responding to what I'm saying, so it's a bit more immersive. I think we can enhance and augment current workflows and practices and come up with a new interaction paradigm for creative digital content.
What motivates the wish to communicate? But expression, without expression, communication is nothing much more than just a series of information clips.
Maybe she will drift off with these other entities. Maybe you will care that she does that. And that, I think, is the interesting question that's being asked more and more often, and is the best question that cinema is currently asking about artificial intelligence.